Evolve and Elevate with Erica, and I am so blessed to have you here with us again this evening. I'm your host, Erica Bishop from Evolve and Elevate with Erica, as well as Empowered to Prosper Coaching and Consulting. And we're here tonight on another episode of this wonderful podcast to share with you in a subject called forgiveness. So last week we had a great opportunity, and with me again this week is Miss Leslie Montgomery, and we were talking about betrayal. And she shared her story with us. In the previous week before that, we also had Miss Gwenda Smith, who is back with us again, as we were talking about unlocking holistic wellness. And we're going to marry all those things together tonight, as we're going to be talking about forgiveness, how it shows up in us, and what it is that we can do to get to a place of true forgiveness within ourselves and for others. So without further ado, I'm going to let Miss Gwenda introduce herself to you all, and then Miss Leslie Montgomery, and then we're going to get into our conversation for this evening. Gwenda, I give it over to you.
Thank you, Erica, and good evening, good morning, everyone. It's a thrill to be here, and I can't wait for our discussion. Forgiveness is a master key to being able to heal things in your life, and would you believe it's also a master key to abundance? Whatever it is that you would like abundance of, whether that be peace, be love, be happiness, a calm mind. Forgiveness is an ultimate key, and we are going to bring some awesome, wonderful tools and insights. And I'm coming to you from Perth, Western Australia, so it is the future. It's Tuesday morning here, and it's a thrill to be here. Thank you, Erica and Leslie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leslie Montgomery, and I'm the host of LKM Kingdom Living Leslie's Lessons Learned. And it's an honor and a privilege to be here again. Thank you, Erica, and to be with our guests. I'm so excited. It's still Monday on this side of the earth, but just the same, the message is still the same. So I'm excited about getting into the message and find out how we all can live a more healthy life by forgiveness. Thank you, Erica.
Awesome. Thank you so much, ladies, for being with us. And as you all are coming in, please share with someone. And I know forgiveness can be a very touchy subject for a lot of people. We hear it a lot, and people go through a lot of different situations and circumstances. And we've gotten to a place where we may have been betrayed. We may have had our heart broken. We may have had someone that has lied to us. We may have been on the other side of it and have been the offender and needed the forgiveness. And we may even hold a place of offense, meaning that someone wronged us and we never spoke up about it. We just held on to it, won't discuss it, won't talk about it. And if anyone touches it, it's like that um, scar that we have that hadn't quite healed. It has a covering over it. We know it's there, but it's still a little soft to touch. And we hold these things in our heart. But unfortunately, when Gwenda was with us, she was sharing about her experience and seeing people who hold different things and how emotions can manifest in our bodies. And one of those things is unforgiveness when we hold that for too long. So, Gwenda, I'm going to give you a moment to share your experience and how you have seen with those who hold unforgiveness, how it affects us in our natural bodies.
Thank you, Erica. It's a number of years ago now. I had a particular lady, stands two actually, come straight to mind. One came to me because she'd been told by the doctors that she would never have a child or any children because she had such severe endometriosis and PCOS. She suffered pretty much 27 days of the month with extreme pain, not able to function. It was affecting her marriage and her relationship, her work. It was affecting everything. And when we started to unravel what was really going on, it was incredible to find that It was the relationship that she had perceived she had with her mother. And this, when we tracked it back, it actually went to the time that she was in the womb with her mother and the way her mother felt about being pregnant, about going to be a mother. Um, she didn't want to do that. And it came through loud and clear. So, as we worked with this young lady, she'd harbored so many angry moments, so many hurtful moments, hearing her mum's words as she was a little girl and how she took those to her heart. So her belief was that her mother never wanted her, didn't accept her, didn't love her. And this might sound very familiar to a lot of people who develop this story through many different ways in our life. And so as we unraveled it, this anger came from really deep within her. And she found that very hard to manage with. And some days when she would come to see me, she would lash that anger at me because it was too hard to manage it. And especially it was erupting like a slow bubbling volcano. So we worked through that with her. And I am delighted to tell you that within within 3 months she was having normal periods, she had no pain, and all it came down to was forgiveness of how she felt about herself. And yes, it is interlinked with how her mother's projection of not wanting to be pregnant had come onto her, so it worked through the forgiveness on both sides. Another beautiful lady that I was working with was having a lot of trouble being able to connect with her little one, who was at the time 3 years of age. And she couldn't understand why. She just could not relate to this dear little girl. And in meditation, I'll go with her, and I was able to see her have her little girl come towards her, and then it changed and it was herself as a little girl, and she actually folded her arms in meditation and turned away from the child. So when we came out of the meditation, before I could ask her, she said, I want nothing to do with her, she's broken. And that was a part of herself, and that came about through the upbringing that she had with her father and also her grandfather. She had been abused by her grandfather, and she felt that she was broken. So here she was as a mother herself, could not relate to her own little girl of the same age, because her little girl was now the same age she was when her grandfather abused her. So, forgiveness, people be thinking, why should I forgive him? Why should I? It wasn't me. But forgiveness is the key. And both those ladies now have amazing relationships. And she has an incredible relationship with her little girl, who's now 10. That was a long time ago. So, I hope everyone that joined us today, you can take some beautiful new strength and awareness in your heart for the power of forgiveness. Thanks, Erica.
Thank you, Gwenda. That is so powerful. It really is. When we think that how we have this spiritual transfer of emotions from one person to the next. And there's actually a scientific term for it, and it's called epigenetics. And epigenetics is trauma that those have experienced. It can affect, or is said to affect, your genome in your DNA. And someone can has the probability to give a trauma response based upon what someone else experienced while carrying someone in the womb or within the genealogy of the family. And they may not have experienced, but the emotion itself is so strong
Yeah.
that it could actually pass through the DNA of a child, and to be carrying someone in the womb, and you're depressed or you're mad and you're angry. And then when the child is born, they say, why is the baby so mean? Why the baby so mad?
That's right.
And we've seen it. We've seen it
Mhm.
before, but we didn't have a name for it, right? We didn't know what it was called. And and it can affect us. And when we don't know how to release those emotions, it breaks down our bodies. I've shared my own personal story with being diagnosed with endometrial carcinoma, with cancer. And that was one of the things that the Lord told me. He said, a bitter root was growing in you. And if you had not been doing the work, we wouldn't be where we are. And to be now 8 years cancer free, I'm grateful to God, right? For that experience just within itself.
Hallelujah.
Amen. So to turn it over to you, Leslie, when you think about your process and just kind of recap a little bit of your story from last week, and what did it take to get you to that place with all the stuff that you experienced, my God, and the years that you had to experience to get to the place where you truly can have a heart of love.
One thing that I would say is that I always try to analyze, I guess I could say, the issue. So I would always look at the issue and try to see the bigger picture when somebody else, I guess, would come against me, or somebody else would do something to me. And I would say, well, they do it for this reason. But I think one of the things that helped me, I always desire to forgive people. I always desire to put them in a different place. And I think one of the things that helped me too is that one of the churches that I used to belong to, they sent us away for training. At that time, it was a whole lot of deliverance and things going on like that. So we were sent away. And this one time we were sent away, we were sent to South Carolina, Spartanburg, South Carolina, to a training center.
Now,
And they
that's
taught
my
me how.
hometown. Oh my
Oh, is
God.
that where you? Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And in that session, in those sessions, they taught us how to forgive first. They taught us that in order for us to be able to help anybody else, we had to have a heart of forgiveness. We had to be transparent ourselves and able to forgive. So I believe that helped a lot. But it was just there's just something that was always in me, that always wanted to forgive, always wanted to maybe I might have caused myself to be more of a victim because I always wanted to give them the key of escape, you know, on the other hand. So, yeah, I was taught in those sessions how to forgive. So it made it, I'm not saying that it was always easy, but through the process of like I still have some of the books, and sometimes I still have to go back and refresh myself. I have to go back and do some of the prayers that's in there, that forgiveness can be at the forefront um, of my life. So I think that that helped me a lot to get through a lot of the emotional bondages that had tried to attack itself to me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm going to pose this question to you, ladies. How do we start with forgiveness? Like, what's the first step? Because I know sometimes we want to deny the true action of it and the part that we have to own in whatever the situation may have been. Right. And I know that sometimes it's easier to be the victim and what someone did to me. But then there's a part of everything that we also have to own within something. So, how do we even start the process of forgiveness and even recognize it? Because I have come to learn and understand that we create these coping mechanisms so we don't have to feel bad.
Mhm.
And we create these coping mechanisms, and if we feel a little bit better, then we think we're fine, but we really haven't dealt with the
Don't
situation.
deal with it. Yeah.
We've just pushed it over to the side just so I can be at a place that I don't have to feel the pain. And it could be anything. It could be going shopping. It could be eating our favorite food. It could be getting into another relationship. It could be a lot of different things that we create these coping mechanisms or continuing to talk about it until somebody agrees with us to make us feel better. But where do we really get to a place where it's time to forgive and not keep rehearsing it and trying to talk ourselves out of the fact that the forgiveness needs to take place? And either one of you can start.
Go ahead, Miss Gwen.
Thank you, Leslie. Okay, so for me, when I look at forgiveness, it's really bringing myself into a greater awareness and deciding to look at what do I say most? What do I talk about to other people the most? And if I find that I keep rehashing something someone did, or even like you mentioned, Erica, going shopping. So we go shopping, and you can't believe what this woman did in the aisle while I was there. And you find that you're all angry and bitter and twisted. That's not what you're angry and bitter and twisted about, and it will deflect off to whatever, like when you're talking about it, you'll eventually go into that situation where your energy is all being given to whatever another person did or said or didn't do, didn't said. And that's a time to go, oh, I might, hang on, I might step back and begin to really look at where am I getting angry, what sort of things are making me angry or upset. You might find that you're just easily frustrated, easily upset. And I think the first step is to begin to pay more attention to where your thoughts, where your words and energy is going. And that sounds like a lot, but it's actually all in one. If you notice when you go out, you start to get road ragey or irritated when you're in a line at the shop, that's a moment to pull back and breathe and ask yourself, what's going on here? And if it is something that you know has been with you for quite a period of time, it's time to step into forgiveness.
That's good.
Um,
The
yeah.
awareness. Yeah, go ahead, Leslie.
Oh, no, no. I was thinking about, you were just speaking about victims. And I remember one time I was talking, and a friend said to me, "Can I ask you a question?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, you can ask me a question." And he was like, "Why are you always the victim?" And
Ooh,
I was like, "Me? Always the victim?" I didn't even realize it. And that was one of the things that made me start evaluating and looking at things differently, because we can always be the woe is me. We can always be in a place that we can find fault in everybody else, like you were saying, when even being in the store, and those emotions that rises up from the inside. We can also get in a place where we don't recognize what it is that forgiveness is. We don't understand that forgiveness is a marriage to our health, to us having a relationship with the Father. And so when we don't recognize it, one of the things the word says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge.
mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't have that knowledge. A lot of people don't know that there's things that's within them that's causing them to be unhealthy, as Gwenda says, to cause them to be as a victim or in a place of rejection. Rejection, a lot of times, will cause people to not forgive. They rejected me. I'll never forgive them. Uh, and a lot of times, the only thing they're saying is, I don't know how. How can I forgive? How can I let this go after they've done what they've done to me? And a lot of times we take it as, oh, I can't be bothered with them. They're all so negative, but they're crying out saying, I need help. and in the form of needing help. It doesn't always come. It comes out as a victim. It comes out as an angry person. It comes out, like you said, a person with rage, and you just think that that's just their personality. That's the way they are, but it's not, because they never learned what it is to really to forgive somebody and let it go. It's not just a matter of forgiving. It's a the healing comes when we let go. The healing comes when we recognize that we're holding on to something that is causing casualties in our lives, because that's what it does. It causes casualties. It causes, we're broken, and as long as we stay in a place of unforgiveness, we're in a place of brokenness. And a lot, and this is for the church world at whole. This is for people that stand on the word and say that they're a believer, but never forgive. It's those people that stand on the word and say, I don't have to forgive. I've heard people say that that's what Christ went to the cross for.
Mm.
He went to the cross for sin, but not for our unforgiveness. And when I say that, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. I mean the things that we actually experience, the things that we actually get tied up in, or broke, that cause us to be broken, and we never let it go. It's a one thing, you talked about the woman that had a lot of hurt and brokenness from the birth of, from being in her mother, and when I thought about that, I thought about even my mother, how my mother said she hated the doctor the day he told her she was having me. That the fact that she tried to kill me 2 times, just those type of things. If I held on to those things and never forgave her, the process that my body would go through, the process that it's almost like a sting. Uh, you,
Mm.
you know how I'm not talking about like a sting from a bee, but say like a gangster, and they have a sting, something that they have set up to come against you. That's what the enemy does. He uses unforgiveness to come against you. So, how, as Erica was saying, how do we face that? The first thing I feel, and I'm sure Gwen will enhance it as we go along, is that you got to be still. You got to be still. And you got to take that brokenness to the Father. I'm not saying you don't have counseling or anything like that, but the real healing begins when you're still enough to hear and allow the Father to get into those stony areas of your heart and begin to bring them to a place of compassion. Compassion is where forgiveness really forms itself and takes on a newness of life. So I hope I answered your question.
Oh yes, you did. You did it very beautifully. And you said a lot of powerful things. One of those things that I want to highlight is the world has conditioned us not to feel and to try to be emotionless because they want to put it out there that having emotions makes you weak. No, emotions are a gauge, not a guide, but a gauge to let you know that something is wrong. You
Right,
need to pay attention to it. Just like pain, when you hit something hot, let you know, okay, that was hot and we got a problem. So your emotions are there to let you know that something is wrong. And to Gwenda's point and what she was sharing, when you find yourself being on edge, all of a sudden I'm having this road rage and I'm upset about small things. You have to take a pause and say, what happened? You have to start asking yourself some questions. Why am I feeling this way right now? What was my trigger? What triggered me? And I've had to do that, and one that teaches emotional intelligence and had to be in that place of self-awareness. What triggered me today? Was it something that the person said, or was it a thought that I had in my head and I assumed or miscommunicated? What was it that caused the trigger? And it's like this domino effect that
Okay.
happens. And then you find yourself offended by someone walking past you and they didn't say hello the
Mhm.
right way.
Yep. Yep. That's right. That's how it starts.
That's how it starts. And we have to
Yep.
say, well, what was the trigger? And you have to really sit with yourself. I'm upset with me because, or I didn't speak up, or I had some uncommunicated expectations,
Unresolved issues.
unresolved issues, and I had an opportunity to use my voice and I didn't.
As a child, it's very hard to use your voice, and I'd like
Yeah.
to address Twinkle33. Hello, darling. Forgiveness is something I've struggled with, not really knowing what forgiveness actually means. I know it's about not holding judgment against others and moving past those thoughts. So, as a child, if you are seen to be mean and you've taken another child's toy away or you've pushed them over, the first thing your parent tells you or the teacher is say sorry. You're sorry for that. But a child's not able to put into words like an adult why they did that, why they had that outburst, why they had to take that toy away. So these are things I find really fascinating because it is something that's come down the line from somewhere. People go, I don't know
It
why that
does.
child
Yeah.
behaves that way. Their parents are so lovely, but you don't know what's come into them energetically. So you have a child that's mucking up all the time or that has rage from early. But if you really delve into what's going on around them, you can see it. How's a child to know forgiveness? How's a child really to understand forgiveness? And hence, we get to be an adult and we don't really understand what is forgiveness. So, what is it? It means being able to be very deeply compassionate to yourself first, to understand what the anger, the resentment, the despair is that you hold, but the things you say about yourself. You know, why did I stay there? What an idiot. What was I thinking? What a fool. Oh, I'm so stupid. And you say these awful things about yourself whilst venting about what the other person did. Forgiveness is being able to bring that to a place of, I'm going to say it, everyone, a place of peace and love, where there is no more emotion that is tied to berating yourself and tied to the experience you had with another person. And I'll say to you that if I'm out and about and I'm with someone who starts raging about the traffic, I actually send out the word peace. And I'll breathe in and just say peace to work on their fields energetically because our words have power, tremendous power. So, in those moments, if you can be peace with yourself, placing a hand over your heart, and not really having to analyze, because, like Erica said, the world has tried to make us not feel. They've really messed us around with our emotions and feelings. So, to place a hand, as soon as you place a hand on your heart, it actually centers you into your heart. And you place the other one as an indication of alignment with the divine, with God, and say peace. Simply say peace as you breathe in. You'll be amazed. You don't need an attachment to what is it? What is the forgiveness? What is it about that person? You need harmony in your heart and between yourself and God. And that brings you to forgiveness.
That's beautiful, Gwenda, and that's a lot to take with you to remember. And I thank you so much for sharing that. One of the other things that, because people like power,
Mm.
sometimes we don't forgive because we think we're harnessing power over the person, right? but they've gone on and done. And some of them may not even know that they've done anything wrong. Some people
Right.
never acknowledge that they've done
Right.
it. But we feel like we're holding power over that person, and we're not. We are
70%.
incarcerating ourselves. We're binding ourselves into a place of emotion. I'm gonna use the word emotional incarceration.
That's
We're
right.
boxing ourselves in because one, we haven't had a conversation. Two, we haven't expressed how we truly feel. And sometimes we haven't even explored how we
Mm.
really feel and why we feel the way we do. And that takes time to sit in it and really say, I am hurt. And
Yeah.
I am hurt
Yeah.
because I am angry, and I am angry because. And we know sometimes that there are some, and depending upon what someone may be going through. If you're dealing with a narcissistic person, that's a whole nother situation. Um, but understanding that we have to be able, and we may even be mad at someone who we may not even be able to have a conversation with because they could be going on.
That's
But at
right.
the end of the day, we have to release the emotion. Even if it's something as simple as writing a letter,
Writing a letter.
Mhm.
even if it's something that's sitting, writing all of your feelings down, even if they would never see it, speaking it out loud to get it out, because emotions are meant to be expressed and not suppressed. And when we hold them in and hold them hostage, they have to have somewhere to go. And this is when they end up in our body parts. They end up in our throat. They end up in our back. They end up in our knees. We end up with all these ailments that we have because we didn't allow ourselves to express our emotions. And emotions don't have to be expressed in an unhealthy way. And we were talking about children, and this reminded me of my children, because oftentimes the first thing we tell our children is no. When they're doing something, we'll tell them no. Like, don't do that, no. And that's very, that seems very harsh to a child. And oftentimes when you tell a baby no, they start crying because they hear the tone and the aggression that comes out the word no. So when my son was about 2, this is before my daughter was born, the Lord told me to say, change your mind. So I stopped telling him no. He said, because you're creating limited beliefs on him that he hasn't even experienced yet. He said, tell him to change his mind. So as he was getting older, he would do something. I said, change your mind, change your mind. And he would stop. I would literally see his little eyes thinking like, okay, what am I going to do next? And he'd go do something different. And as I've done that, he's a very courageous person, but he sits and thinks about everything he does. And that was very powerful for me as a
That is
parent,
powerful.
to allow
That's wonderful.
him to explore his thinking and his feelings, and he analyzes everything, and even down to his friendships and what he thinks about. He's very analytical in that space, and it was such a blessing for me to be obedient to that, because I didn't create these limited beliefs to tell him that he couldn't do, and felt like he had to hold all these different things aback, but it allowed him to be able to take a moment and say, let me just think. Let me take a pause and think. And oftentimes, even when it comes to our emotions, let's take a pause and think.
That
Take a
emotions
minute.
is so
Yeah, to your
dangerous.
point, lay
Yeah.
your hand on your heart, have some peace, and let's just sit and just think about it for a moment, and really go to a place of, why is it that I can't forgive? What is it that I'm holding over this person that I don't? And yes, they may have done a very egregious thing to you, but that does that mean that they're off the hook for what
No,
they did?
no.
It doesn't mean that at all. And I'm going to turn it over to you, ladies, because I know you got some thoughts behind that.
Leslie.
Okay, so I'm gonna use that for myself. What you say? Change your
Change your
mind.
mind.
Change your
Change
mind.
your mind. Change your mind.
change your mind. But I was thinking about something that had happened to me, and it was very dramatic, and I could not let it go. It was so devastating that it was just like I was just existing. And I remember going to the doctor just for checkups, and she started watching my blood pressure. And my blood pressure kept elevating and elevating, and I was trying to fight so hard to get over this situation. And it just seemed like the blood pressure came because I was not able to release it. But I had sometimes, I'm saying that because sometimes there are things that happens that give, and it's a struggle to release it because it's a devastating thing. And unless you get into a plan, and let me say this, just because you forgive, it doesn't mean that it automatically goes away. There's a process sometimes that you have to go through to get over that dramatic situation. And I would say that uh, uh, to deal with it as soon as you realize it, as soon as it comes, don't hold on to it. Don't allow it to take priority in your life. When you allow it to take priority in your life, that's when it starts affecting you. That's when you it takes longer to come out of it. And it took me a while and a minute to come out of that because uh, people were accusing me of things I didn't do. People was turning their backs on me. People was saying all kinds of things about me that wasn't true. And in the process of it, it was damaging me because I was hurt because of the things that they were saying and how they was treating me. So it took me a minute to come out of that. It took me sitting. It took me being in the presence, allowing God to speak to me, allowing Him to calm me, allowing Him to show me the what was really taking place and how I needed to deal with some things, even though it seemed like it was everybody else. I had played a part in it too. And once I begin to realize and recognize how we've been saying that you have to own up to what you've done, then healing can start taking place. And then you can become more healthy and wholesome. But sometimes you're in a place that um that even though you're forgiven, now you're in a place that the healing has to be, your whole environment has to be healed. You, not just in your mind, but everything that's pertaining to you has to be healed because now you're broken. Everything that pertains to you becomes broken. So now healing has to take place on a whole nother level. And I know it seems like, yeah, it's easier said than done. No, it's easier done than said if you really pay attention and allow yourself. It's not saying you don't go through things. It's not saying people will not hurt you again. It's not saying that you're not going to have to forgive for something else. There's always levels of forgiveness of yourself and of others. I had to also forgive myself. I had to also sit down and that was the part that really took a long time. It wasn't that I wasn't saying forgive me, but my heart was so broken that in the process of it healing, it took some time.
That's powerful, Leslie. Thank you so much. The self forgiveness. And Gwenda had also spoken about that as well as the conversations we have in our head about
Yeah.
ourselves. I had to get to a place where I had to literally stand in the mirror and look at myself and have a conversation with myself to dismantle the thoughts
That's right.
and the beliefs that I was holding judgment against myself,
Mhm.
and that place of condemnation that
Yes.
I was holding because I had gotten to a point where I was blaming myself for the things that had happened to me. And that wasn't the case. There's some things that you don't blame yourself for. You blame yourself, but you shouldn't, because it wasn't you who did
Nothing
it.
for you to do. Yeah.
So I had to go through that healing process to love me first, to, as your point, Leslie, deal with the stoniness that was being created in my own heart about me. Not just the individual or the
Right.
situation, it was about me. And I had to go through that process to really love on me, to even open up to love others, and also to receive the love of God. Because as I was holding so much unforgiveness, I was kind of giving God talk to the hand. I
And
don't want to.
separating.
I was
Separation.
separating myself, right? And Twinkle 33 is saying, sorry is a word I've always used, explaining myself, but was never forgiven for the act in saying the word. Was never able to understand why sorry was never enough, implying that I'm not sorry. So, one of the things that I want to address with that, is that's that power struggle. Um, that some people believe that if I don't accept your apology, then that's me holding power. That's the other side of the unforgiveness. If you're the one who's giving an apology and no one wants to accept it, it's that person's responsibility to do their own level of forgiveness. You've done your part to apologize. Now, one of the things that I've also learned is that people have what they call apology languages, and I didn't know this until I studied it. That people want you to apologize to them in a certain way based upon their quote unquote love language. So for some, it might be me and Leslie had an argument. And instead of me saying, I'm sorry, Leslie, for being so rude and over talking you, and I didn't give you an opportunity to speak, I say, you ready to go get something to eat? So in my mind, that's my language. Food is my thing. So, hey, we could go get us something to eat. If we're going to go sit down and eat, break bread together, then we should be good. But in Leslie, it's like, no, I need you to tell me why you did what you did. So for some people, they're walking around and you said, I'm sorry, but sorry for what exactly? Do we understand how we got here? And when we don't have that true, honest conversation, then that still feels like it's a breach. So, understanding, having that not only your own awareness, but awareness of the individual for those that you can, is to understand, well, is there a reason why I didn't? Because I needed to have said, Leslie, I apologize. That's what she needed to hear for her to understand my sincerity. And if anybody else want to add to that.
There's another level to that too, Erica, which I've found with people quite often. So somebody apologizes. Look, I'm really sorry that I said that. I'm really sorry that I did that. And the other person says, but why? Why did you do it? And the one who's apologizing says, well, I didn't think well enough, or, oh, I'm just sorry. But this circular conversation goes on. So the person who's refusing to hear the apology wants more. And that's that control power thing again.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
want more from you. And all the time that you're doing that, you're creating a lot of angst in the cells in your body without realizing that when you're pushing this person to explain to me why did you do that? We don't even listen to the emotion that we're saying it with, or feel into the body that your stomach's gone into knots, your tension goes across here. or all of a sudden you're rubbing your wrist, and it's because why? So when someone says they're sorry, yes, there is a language, but there's a language on both sides, or as you said, there's language on both sides. But it's also down to, what do you want from that person? What do you want from them? If they're saying I'm sorry and you're willing to only go, why did you do it? Then you've really trapped yourself in a place, a really heavy prison. And forgiveness cannot come. It can't come to yourself, and you certainly can't extend it to the other person. So if you end up saying, all right, fine, you're sorry. No, nothing's gone anywhere. And you walk away with all that angst and all of that, whatever other emotion you want to carry with that.
Mhm.
So when someone offers you a sorry, I really encourage people to pause and feel into themselves and see if they can feel what it is. What emotion can they feel? And then address that. Say that if you must, say it to the other person. At this moment, I'm feeling sick in the stomach. Though you've said you're sorry, I'm feeling sick in the stomach. You can express that, but then it's up to you to go away and really feel into yourself to know, what is that sick in the stomach? What do you want? What do you want from that apology? And I think that's a very important part of understanding ourselves and being able to relate to ourselves in our own emotions.
Mhm.
It's much easier to point the finger at someone else, harder to look within, but it's the within that offers you peace and
It
harmony.
does. It does. I think oftentimes when you ask the question, what do some people want? Some people want the other person to feel the way they feel, so that you can understand to the level that this has hurt a person. And they may not, because
No,
they won't. And we have to remember that forgiveness is about love. It's about love.
mm,
It's not about hurting the other person
no,
over and over and over again. And it's that place where sometimes when they ask the question, well, why? Do you not understand how this made me feel? And they're not going to understand it.
mm,
And
no,
you can share your feelings, and this is how it has made me feel, but you have to be able to express and know how to use your words to share. This hurt my heart because I thought that our relationship was closer than that, and that we valued each other more. And when you shared with me that our relationship was not there, that hurt me, which leads into another conversation, because it could have been that might have been something you never talked about. And sometimes it requires more conversation. And I think it was Tiffany that put in here,
mm,
sometimes you're not going to get closure.
no, no. Because you're holding on to what you want. And yeah, thanks for raising that, Erica. I was going to come back to Tiffany. Yes, we could say you deserve to know why, but my point was, why can often never be answered, because the more the person you ask the person, if you're not getting what you want from them, you're going to continue to ask why,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not going to come to closure. And this is where forgiveness, compassion, and love come into play for your own peace and for your health, truly for your health.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Leslie, you got something?
Well, I was just thinking about sometimes people use that unforgiveness to intimidate,
Oh,
Mm,
that's good.
because you
mm,
know they hold it over the person, because they see that they have them on a to dangle, and they
Mm-hmm.
are always dangling that
yep.
fruit of intimidation to keep them and right where they want them, underneath their palm. Yeah, you hurt me, and this is what I'm going to do now. And I think that a lot of times that happens, and you'll always find the other person saying, I already asked you to forgive me. I already did this. What
Yeah.
do you want from me?" And you've said it so many times, and a lot of times they just want the person to suffer
Yeah.
because of them hurting them. And hurt wants to hurt. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, hurt wants to hurt. So you have a lot of people out here that's going around in a circle hurting each other
Mm.
because hurt hurts. So that's one area. And the other area, Erica, you was talking about how people uh, forgiveness is different languages. Some people don't even speak it. They hurt you, they'll go buy you something and never say, "Forgive me."
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Never say,
Mm.
"I'm sorry." They'll just keep loading you with material things. And in the person's heart, they don't want those things. They
Mm.
just want to know, because like you said, love is forgiveness is love. And when you when you genuinely love someone and tell them that you love them, that is more healing than it is for someone to buy you something. Buying you something is only your way of getting around saying, "I forgive you." So I was thinking that, well, there's several different, there's just so many different angles to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that when we understand, and I think about Alicia, because it just came to my mind how she talks about how she used to always say, "Mike, forgive me for," and the father said, "Don't you ask him one more time." Forgiveness is for us. Forgiveness is for us to be healed. Forgiveness is for us to be delivered. Forgiveness is deliverance. Deliverance is setting you free from the bondage of somebody else and from yourself. So, yes, forgiveness takes two parts. It takes you forgiving the person and forgiving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they forgive you or not, you have to release yourself from that bondage, from that offense, or and move on. Is it easy? It's a
Amen.
process.
Oh, yeah, you're right about that, Leslie. It
Mhm.
isn't easy. It is a process, and there are levels to it. But amen to what you said.
Yes. Mhm.
All right, ladies, it is our time. And this is a great conversation. I hate to end so soon, but this is the thing for me. Forgiveness isn't a one time conversation.
It's all the time.
And this is something that we can continue on a lot of different levels, because what I am noticing and what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing and also what I'm discerning, there's some relationships that have been breached and that need forgiveness, especially around this time of the year, the holidays,
Mm.
when we haven't spoken to family, we've had breached relationships along the way. There's some sibling relationships that need some healing. There's some parent and child relationships that need some healing. Um, there's some friends that we've dismissed out of our lives because of miscommunication, timing of a discussion, assumptions. Um, and there are some people who have truly hurt us. And
Oh,
understanding that forgiveness does not require access. Forgiveness doesn't require that you have to go back to that same level of what it is that happened, depending upon your situation. Every situation is different. It doesn't require
right.
access. But forgiveness needs to happen for your own personal healing, for your own personal level of sanity, peace, joy, contentment, and life. And there are some people who we may have to work with, see them, live with, talk to, not talk to, But there's a level of forgiveness. I know it's a whole lot easier when you don't have to see somebody. You say you forgive them and you never have to see them. But when you do see them and you get that sinking feeling in your stomach, like somebody hit you in your stomach, then
Got
you
some more work to do.
yeah, you got some more work to do. That's that emotion that lets you know you still got something there.
Yes.
And it does take work. And I definitely want to continue this conversation. And I know people have extenuating circumstances and they may need some one-on-one conversation. We're here for you. Gwenda, Leslie, myself, and Alicia. We're here. And if you're interested, and this is something I have been thinking about, having a private intensive on forgiveness. Because there's some things that some people need to talk about. There's some things that some people need to discuss and to get it out so that they can get on that road of forgiveness and true healing. One thing for me, this past Sunday, I had to give the message, and it was called You Have a Heart Condition, but it didn't start with you.
Okay.
And we were talking about David when he said, Create in me a clean heart and renew a right spirit within me. But what got
Typical
him to that
things.
point? He had to have that conversation with God because he had done a very egregious thing. He had slept with a married woman. He ended up getting pregnant by her, lied to the husband to try to get him to sleep with her to cover the sin, put the man on the front line and killed him. And he had to go back to God and say, God, you got to do something with my heart. But it didn't start with him. His great grandmother was Rahab. She was a woman that was a woman of the night, and lust started through the generations. But thank God for Jesus on the other end of it. But there are some things that didn't necessarily start with us. There are things that we talked about earlier, the epigenetics, trauma that we have experienced over time. But if we don't have a serious conversation with ourselves and with God to see what is the root, we will find ourselves fighting these things from one place to the next. But God wants to get to the source of the unforgiveness so that we can truly live a life of abundance in love.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go right
Because you said something that's really you talked about David, and one thing about David, David thought he was okay
ahead.
until he was confronted by the
Hmm.
prophet. The message had to come to him from above, from I call him Yahweh.
Hmm.
God had to come down and send a prophet, I'm sorry, to tell him, you need to go face, you got to go face yourself. What you've done. You think you skipping through the tulips. I'm watching you, and you
Hmm.
got some work to do. We don't want to get to that place
That's the part
where
I'm talking about.
he has to come and tell us, look, we just so prideful and think that we have skipped or missed him dealing with us, and come and tell us we need to deal with ourselves. But what I wanted to say that you mentioned about the holidays, one of the things about the holiday that is so broken is the person you don't forgive and you have aught against, and you'll go buy a gift because it's the holiday and give them a gift and never deal with the situation.
Oh, Leslie, you really said something right there.
Every year that happens. And the day after Christmas, they go back to being who they were before. We have to deal with that. That we have to deal with that. People, Christmas time, people get this happy emotion. It's a wonderful world. Everything is right for the moment. But we never deal with those things that we hurt people. People are broken. We're broken because of people. We'll just move it over for the holiday. And then after the holiday is over, we go right back to I'm not forgiving them. They did the, holding on to those things, those bondages. But for one day, the whole world or the whole America is happy.
Yeah, very, very good point. Awesome point, Leslie. So true.
And we can do it for that one day, so why we can't just do it?
Mm.
Because it's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's a moment.
Mm-hmm.
to face.
Mm-hmm. But we rather spend time to not be truthful and walk in truth and peace. But we'll put it down, but we'll pick that anger and that weight right back up.
Mm.
And we rather hold on to the struggle and the strife than to hold on to the freedom.
Do we really put it down or we just push it back
I think we push
Ooh.
it back
for that moment?
for that moment. We can cope. That's a coping mechanism. We
Yeah.
create things to cope just to feel a little bit better. I can suck it up for 2 hours. But once I get past that door, I don't want to talk to you no more. We'll do it real quick.
It's scary.
It is.
It's
But each
scary.
time we do that, we take our natural body. Cortisol levels get high, our heart palpitations, blood pressure. We take our whole nervous system, cardiovascular system, our blood. We take all of our bodies through all of this torment.
Because our body's not used to it. That's
It's
not what our bodies is used to.
it's not made to hold all this anger and
And it
angst
doesn't know
and
what to
hatred.
do with it.
It doesn't.
No, and that's why we get disease and
Yeah.
illness. So we're basically killing ourselves with our own emotions and our own thoughts. It's the body is a fascinating creation and it's a miraculous creation. It has the ability to heal, but we have to give it that opportunity. And forgiveness is key, absolute key to healing.
Mhm.
Wow, that is so
Healing, yeah.
powerful.
Forgiveness is all right along. It's a marriage with salvation. It's a marriage.
Hmm.
You know, I've
Can't
been
have.
working with a lady who is 80, and she came to me because she has had severe neuropathy. And went straight into what she vented and carried from when she was 3.
Oh
She's
my
80 now, and she spewed out everything that happened when she was 3. How many years is that? 77 years
God.
of carrying that. And now at 80 had neuropathy. And I'm saying had because she wrote me, she's in America, she wrote me and she said, "This cannot be possible. I do not have the pain, the discomfort in my legs and my feet."
Oh my God. Oh,
Forgiveness, truly, people, forgiveness is key to healing. And I wrote back to her and said, everything is possible and it begins in your heart.
that is so powerful, Gwenda. So you're saying, I want to recap. I need y'all to hear what she just said. There was a woman that she worked with that had been holding on to something since she was 3 years old. She is now 80. She held on to it for 77 years. And she's finally free after 77 years. And all that time, she could have been walking without pain, but she suffered with pain for multiple years because of unforgiveness. This is real.
It's a killer.
Same as the lady with the endometriosis and PCOS, horrendous pain that she would have every month for years. Forgiveness is key to healing, and your body, as soon as you release, your body gives the greatest sigh of relief, and you'll find that you move with more ease, you feel brighter in mind. And as as Erica said, what happens in your body what happens in your body is instantaneous. Did you know that when you get angry, the first thing you do is actually hold your breath?
Yes.
You hold your breath momentarily, and in those moments, your pupils constrict and dilate.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
heart misses a beat. Your blood pressure goes up. Your stomach pumps out extra acid that it doesn't need. Your bowel contracts. This all happens momentarily because your emotions are so incredibly powerful.
It
And if
triggers
you,
your body. Yeah.
yeah, and if you carry that, so if that surge of anger happened in the morning and by the evening when you go to bed, you haven't resolved it, you haven't made peace, you haven't forgiven, then all of that is still churning through the organs and the systems of the body. And you won't sleep well. You wake in the morning, you might have a headache, stiff neck, and it's the carryover from the day before.
How?
Please, please
Yeah.
learn to release. Let your body breathe, let your body be free.
Well, I really take that to heart because I'm going to tell you what I experienced, and I ended with this. So, as I was getting prepared to share that message, one of the things the Lord told me to do, He said, I want you to write down everything that has hurt your heart. Now, you can't preach a message from God and then not deal with you first. He
First
said, write
partaker.
down everything that has hurt your heart. And I made this nice long list of stuff that I thought that I was completely over. He said, but no, you still got some little dust and little residue hanging around. He said, write it down. And I got it all out and I wrote it down. And he said, now draw a line on top of it and put my name on top of it. Meaning everything up under that, I'm taking over on top of that. And I surrendered it. But that wasn't the end. I preached the message. And there are many people who experience great relief from the Lord. But it was in my dreams last night I got my physical release. I got a physical manifestation in my dreams last night.
Wow.
So much so I can't even recall the things that I put on the list. So I'm telling you, we think sometimes we're okay, but when we fully surrender and fully give it over, we will have a true physical manifestation. And one of the other things that I heard another young lady say that sometimes women who carry a lot of weight because they don't feel safe and they're carrying this extra weight. And I have picked up some additional weight over the years, but I understand the different things that I was going through. So I'm in expectation that we're going to have some supernatural weight loss on this side. So y'all keep telling me, girl, you look good. You done lost a couple pounds. Yes. Because I've forgiven and have let some things go. And thank you, Twinkle33, and everyone has joined us tonight. I'm glad that this has been a wonderful discussion for you all. And we will definitely continue this because we're thinking about doing an intensive on forgiveness so we can help people to truly experience the freedom, like this lady who was delivered after 77 years, delivered, and now has freedom in her body. So I want to say, Gwenda, thank you so much. Leslie, thank you so much. And I appreciate everyone for being here with us tonight. Share this with at least 10 of your friends. Share this with at least 10 of your friends. And we're going to start sending out some information. And if you have any other additional questions, let us know. Send us a message, and we would definitely get back with you. And we pray that this was just as good for you as it was for us. Gwenda, Leslie, do you have any parting words? I think you're muted, Leslie.
I was trying to find the scripture that I read tonight. It was in Isaiah. I can't remember. I think 11 or something like that. But it said, Yahweh said, I am everything you need. So that means the healing that you need to forgive, He is. The heart that you need to change because of unforgiveness, He is. Everything you need Him to be, that brokenness, He is. He'll come in, as the lady said. And I want you to be encouraged and know that the I am is still the I am. Whatever you need him to be in your brokenness, in your halfway healed, in your healing, he is and he wants to be. I can't find the scripture real quick, but it's a powerful scripture.
Well,
I just
whenever
want
you
to
find it,
know.
just let us know. We'll drop it in the chat for those
Okay.
who may watch the replay. Miss Gwenda.
Oh, Erica and everyone that's joined us, and Leslie, it has been a very powerful discussion, and I thank everyone that's joined us. Adding on to what Leslie said, the I am, you can lean on I am in any moment. You can seek to surrender in any moment. You hold that miracle because you are a miracle of I am. Work with it and hold it in your heart. And also, I just want to say I love Erica's words. Change your mind. Change your mind.
Yes.
Begin begin with change your mind. So as
Mhm.
soon as you find yourself going down that path of, but I want answers, I want him to say, her to say, change your mind. Go to your own heart and go to God, you are, I am.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Can I
your
just
day.
say
I
this
look
real
forward
quick
to,
when you finish?
yeah, and I look forward to being back with you all very soon. Yeah, Leslie.
I'm sorry.
No, you good.
He loves you. In spite of it all, he loves you. And he only wants the best for you. Don't think that you're too bad off, that he won't forgive you, he won't love on you, and he won't change you. I promise you, he's with arms wide open, saying, come to me, all ye that labor and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. That's the kind of God we serve. He loves us in spite of all of that. And he just wants you to know that.
So if you can't love yourself that way, then at least put your arms out to him.
Yeah,
Amen.
but it's not. I see everybody talking about Exodus, but I'm not talking about Exodus. I know about Exodus. Thank you, though. It is actually in Isaiah.
Well, thank you so very much. So, for all of us, and if you know someone who's struggling in some relationships, in that place of unforgiveness, or even within themselves, share this video with them. Because for many, it could be an opportunity for them to have a great opportunity to change and to be able to flourish in a place of forgiveness. We love you all and we thank you so much for joining us on Evolve and Elevate with Erica. Thank you, Miss Wanda. Thank you, Leslie. We
Thank
love you
you.
all. You have a
Love
wonderful
you.
evening. We will be back with you all soon. You all take
Bye.